scars of the forest. The boat was sailing through a new region of the Rio Negro, where the banks were beginning to show signs of destruction. Rafael, who until then had been enchanted by the grandeur and beauty of the forest, noticed a drastic change in the landscape. Fallen trees formed desolate clearings, and the air, once fresh, carried a smell of burning. Donna Iracema, serious, pointed to the shore. Here begins the territory marked by deforestation. This land was covered with Brazil nut and rubber trees a few years ago. Now, all that's left are these scars. The group got off the boat in a devastated area. The ground was dry and cracked, as if life had been ripped out of it by force. Rafael walked carefully, stepping over charred logs and dead roots. He looked around and felt a weight on his chest. "Why would anyone do this?" asked Rafael, trying to understand what motivated such destruction. "Quick profit," replied Dr. Cayo, the biologist. "Large areas are cleared to create pastures for cattle or to plant soybeans. It's a cycle that benefits a few, but harms everyone." Iracema added, "The problem is that the consequences come quickly. Without the trees, the soil loses nutrients, the rivers dry up, and the animals flee. This dead land doesn't even support those who destroyed it." While exploring the area, they found signs of recent activity. Abandoned machinery and piles of logs ready for transportation showed that deforestation was not a story of the past, but a reality still present. Suddenly, Antonio called out to the group, "Come over here, there's something you need to see." He led them to an edge where the deforestation met the preserved forest. There they saw a small group of surviving trees surrounded by felled trunks. Among them was a nest of hyacinth macaws. One of the birds was perched on a branch, staring at the group, as if it too felt the sadness of the place. Rafael stood still, observing the scene. He knew that this species was threatened with extinction and that the destruction of its habitat represented a death sentence for many other creatures. Iracema approached him and put a hand on his shoulder. "This is the fight, Rafael. It's not just about saving trees, but also lives. The forest is a home, and when we destroy that home, we cause suffering to those who depend on it." Later, while the group was discussing the impact of deforestation, they were interrupted by the distant sound of chainsaws. The noise seemed to echo like a warning cry. Antonio suggested that they leave quickly, fearing the arrival of illegal loggers. Back on the boat, the group remained silent, with the images of the devastation etched in their minds. Rafael couldn't forget the hyacinth macaws, alone in the midst of the destruction. As night fell, he wrote in his diary, "Today, I saw the forest wounded. It's not just trees that fall, it's stories, lives and dreams that disappear. Every fallen log is a broken promise to the future. We must act before it's too late." The call of the guardians. The boat glided along the river in silence as the group made their way to the village of a local indigenous community. Rafael was both anxious and apprehensive. He knew that this encounter would be unlike anything he had ever experienced before. Donna Iracema had warned him to be respectful and to listen carefully, for the indigenous people were not just inhabitants of the forest, they were its true guardians. After hours of sailing, they came into sight of the village. Small houses made of straw and wood formed a circle around a large central square. Children played barefoot, while adults worked on straw baskets and pottery. The village chief, a tall man with piercing eyes named Ajuricaba, came to meet the group. "Welcome to our home," he said, speaking fluent Portuguese, but with a distinct accent. The group was led to the center of the village, where the locals gathered to welcome them with traditional songs and dances. Rafael was impressed by the energy of the music and the strength of the movements, which seemed to convey a direct connection with the land and the river. After the reception, Ajuricaba invited them to a meeting in the main hut. Sitting in a circle, the visitors and community leaders began to talk. "The forest is not just trees and animals," Ajuricaba began. It is our mother, our teacher, and our memory. We live from it, but we never take more than we need. That is how we have survived for centuries. Rafael asked about the challenges facing the village. Ajuricaba responded gravely. We are surrounded by threats. Loggers want our land. Gold miners poison our rivers with mercury, and the government often fails to protect us. We fight, but our fight is unequal. An elderly woman named Taina, with wise eyes and a serene countenance, added, Our wisdom is in the earth, in the rivers, in the stars. But few want to listen. They prefer to destroy to get rich quickly, forgetting that what is lost will never be recovered. Donna Irachema asked permission to speak and explained to the group the crucial role that indigenous peoples play in preserving the forest. Studies have shown that indigenous lands are the most protected areas in the Amazon. Without them, the forest would be in a much worse state. The group also learned about the village's resistance strategies. They used modern technologies such as GPS and drones to monitor encroachments on their land, but also maintained their traditional practices, such as protection rituals and sustainable planting. At the end of the conversation, Ajuricaba looked directly at Rafael. You've come from far away, and now you see what we're up against. The forest isn't just ours, it belongs to everyone. If it dies, the whole world will suffer. The question is, what are you going to do with what you've seen here? Ajuricaba's words echoed in Rafael's mind as he walked through the village at dusk. He watched the children running through the trees, the adults singing as they worked, and he sensed that this place was more than a community. It was a bastion of hope and resilience. Before leaving, Taina gave Rafael a small necklace made of seeds. This will remind you that the forest always speaks. Never forget to listen to it. Back on the boat, Rafael held the necklace, feeling a mix of inspiration and responsibility. He didn't know exactly what he would do when he returned home, but he knew he had to act. The fight of those forest guardians was his too, and he couldn't ignore it. For more stories, please follow us and share.